If life were a river, where would you say the treasure lies? Up against the current or waiting downstream? Be honest. Most people will answer upstream, of course, because we've been trained to believe that what is valuable must be difficult, that the prize is always against the current, never with it. It's a curious thing that we admire struggle. If you're not straining, sweating, or making life difficult for yourself, there's a suspicion you're not taking life seriously. Ease is treated as laziness and struggle as virtue. We bow to the one who fights the current, yet look down on the one who lets it carry him. And all the while, the river goes on flowing quite effortlessly. Why do we insist that effort is more dignified than ease? Why glorify the uphill climb when downstream requires no persuasion? It's almost as if we mistrust the universe, as if we imagine that by relaxing we'll somehow miss the point. But perhaps the joke is that the point cannot be missed, because you are it. And here lies the paradox. The more you resist the flow, the more exhausting life becomes. The harder you demand the river go your way, the more it drags you under. Yet the moment you let go, you find yourself moving, not where the ego insisted you must arrive, but precisely where the current was always carrying you. The trouble begins when we imagine that life is something to be managed, as though it were a chessboard, with every move calculated, every outcome predicted. Our intellect delights in such games. It draws maps, sets up fences, and writes endless instructions. But the world, rather inconveniently, refuses to sit still for our diagram. No matter how much you calculate, you never quite know what's coming next. It's like telling the wind which way to blow. And so the more you plan, the more anxious you become, because life keeps unfolding beyond your control. Intellect is a marvelous tool for navigation, for play, for invention, but it was never designed to master the current. It can tell you how to steer the canoe, but it cannot dictate the course of the river. That is already determined by forces far deeper than your diagram. Laozi put it rather neatly. When you seek it, you cannot find it. When you stop seeking, it appears. Which is to say, the very effort to control often blinds us to the simplicity of what is already happening. We exhaust ourselves, not because life is inherently difficult, but because we insist it must obey our plan. The moment you release the obsession with control, you find that life was moving quite well on its own. The current does not need your permission. It was flowing before you, and it will flow after you, and the wonder is that you are already in it. The very act of resisting life's movement creates the tension we call suffering. Resistance is suffering. Even stone, for all its hardness, is worn down by water. The rock resists, and in resisting, it is slowly ground away. So it is with us. The more we harden against the flow, the more life abrades us. What feels like strength in resistance is, in truth, is a slow erosion. But to yield is to remain whole, carried without being broken. The one who fights the current soon discovers how mercilessly it can pull him under, while the one who yields finds himself carried along with hardly any effort at all. By letting it go, it all gets done. The world is won by those who let it go. Strange advice, you might say, for it sounds suspiciously like doing nothing. But the river shows us otherwise. At some point, you'll choose how to meet life. You can resist it, trying to force it into your plan, or you can surrender and let the current carry you. Now, surrender is a tricky word. We usually hear it as defeat, as giving up the fight. But here it means something quite different. It means trusting the current, yielding not out of weakness, but out of faith. For when you allow it to carry you, its strength becomes your own. Anyone can clench their fists, tighten their jaw, and paddle furiously against the current. That's the easy part, because it looks like control. What is harder is to unclench, to open your hands, and to let yourself be carried. To surrender, then, is not passivity. It is the recognition that your life and the life of the universe are one and the same movement. The current is not dragging you against your will. It is your will, deeper than thought, older than memory. Faith, then, is the courage to move without knowing, to walk or float without the full itinerary, to realize that guarantees are an illusion, and that the only real safety lies in trusting the one who set the current in motion. It is not blind naivety, but deep vision. To see that even if you cannot predict the details, the direction is trustworthy. The river has always carved valleys, nourished forests, and found its way back to the sea. Why assume your life would be the lone exception? So many people believe that the harder they push, the better life will reward them. And yes, hard work can sometimes bring success. But look around. How many people make it, only to end up burned out, anxious, or empty inside? They sacrifice peace for the illusion of achievement, always chasing the next mountain without ever arriving. The problem isn't effort itself. The problem is when effort comes from fear rather than flow. Fear says, if I stop struggling, I will fall behind. But have you noticed? Some of the most joyful people are not the ones working the hardest, but those who have learned to align themselves with what they love. Watch a bird riding the wind, or a surfer catching a wave. They too exert themselves, yet their effort is in harmony with the current. That is why it looks so effortless, because it is not forced. True work, true achievement, is not the frantic paddling against the stream, but the art of aligning with it. So perhaps the question is not, how hard must I struggle? But am I in rhythm with the current? For without that rhythm, effort is only self-punishment. The universe has never, for a single instant, left you to fend for yourself. But its voice is not the sort that shouts. It whispers. It moves in the spaces between your thoughts, in a language far softer than the clamor of your busy mind. And so, if you are forever chattering, forever scheming, you will miss it, like trying to hear a flute while banging on a drum. The ego is a restless commentator, forever narrating, forever interrupting. It simply cannot stop talking. What shall I do next? What if I fail? How do I measure up? It builds its castles of anxiety and then insists you live in them. But that's a kind of hallucination, because beneath all that racket, the world is humming along quite smoothly. The currents are already flowing, the seasons are already turning, and your life is being carried whether you micromanage it or not. Call it God, call it the Tao, call it the dance of the cosmos. There is a deeper intelligence at work, one that doesn't need your frantic interference. You notice it in the simple things. When an answer comes the moment you stop thinking about it. When a problem untangles itself after you've walked away, the more you stop trying to force the music, the more you realize you were part of the symphony all along. You may have noticed that the more you brood on a difficulty, the more it seems to multiply. Not because life is conspiring against you, but because the mind is very good at showing you only what it expects to see. It's the same with worry as it is with a song stuck in your head. Once it starts playing, you hear it everywhere. And so the ego goes on, fixing, comparing, tightening its grip. It thrives on struggle because struggle makes it feel important. Yet in feeding it, you miss the obvious, that alongside all the problems, life is still carrying you quite well. If you stop for a moment and look at what is working, quite without your help, you can't help but feel grateful. Gratitude is simply noticing what has already arrived. The breath you didn't earn, the heartbeat you don't control, the small mercies and ordinary wonders that never ask for your permission to exist. When you shift your attention this way, you discover you're not battling the river after all. You're already floating in it. And then the grip loosens. Life feels lighter, not through control, but through confidence in the flow of things. And here, you begin to see the delightful joke. Life was never a problem to be solved, but a process to be recognized, a dance to be joined. The current and the swimmer are not two things, but one and the same movement. The idea that you are somehow separate, that you must control, resist, or outsmart the river, was the illusion all along. So the treasure is not waiting somewhere upstream, nor hidden far below. It is here, in the recognition that you were never outside of the flow in the first place. To surrender, you see, is not defeat, but awakening. It is the realization that by loosening your grip, you do not fall into chaos. You discover you are already being held. And suddenly the whole affair, this river, this life, this extraordinary happening, is revealed for what it always was, not a battle to win, but a play to participate in. Not something to master, but something to understand as your own movement. And in that play, you were never lost. You were home all along. What you called struggle was simply the refusal to see you were already being carried. And so, if you feel passion stirring, if you are drawn to something, go to it, but not by suffering, not by forcing, not by grinding yourself into exhaustion. Go by flowing, by trusting the pull that already calls you. For faith in the current is the quickest way. It will take you there with more certainty and more grace than struggle ever could. Just follow the flow